since the disagreement is getting tougher, the South Sudanese might cry and say, looking at it like you are not accepting the compromise to come home, or the government also are not doing enough to also bring you in. And you are saying that as an opposition, you are trying to revive South Sudan and to help it from it failing state that you call it. But if I may ask, what difference will you actually make? Because you are not new people in South Sudan. You've once been in this government. And the South Sudanese want to hear the difference that you're coming to make and the difference that you are promising them.
We've been in that government before the crisis of 2013. It has been 11 years ago. From 2013, the people of South Sudan have been in suffering worse than any other time before. Under that government, we were not part of it. We are not part of it up to today. Now, it is very clear where the failure is. It is very clear when we raise our voices in 2012 and 2013 that the leadership has lost vision and lost direction, and that the country is going in a wrong direction, and there is need for change. We've been vindicated by time, because what we said the country was going to suffer, and the people were going to suffer, and the country was going to fail, is proven now. What is new that we are going to bring, and why are we insisting on the change we talked about, a fundamental change in the country? First, it is about peace. Ending all the conflicts in the country is a necessity. Addressing all the various conflicts that cause instability for our people, particularly in the countryside, like insecurity resulting from cattle rustling and community violence, conflicts arising from land disputes, the spread of tribalism and regionalism that is dividing the country, which are policies that the current leadership has been actually fomenting. They have divided our people along tribal lines, even within tribes along clan lines, and they have fomented disputes, including land disputes, among neighboring communities that never had any problem among themselves before, like what is happening in Upper Nile, like what is happening in Bahr Ghazal between Tuch and Ngok, like what is happening in Tumbra between our communities of Zande and Blanda, and issues of land grabbing and land disputes in Juba and many other parts of Equatoria, also as a result of movement of cattle and armed cattle herders into farming communities, causing problems in the absence of any government moving to solve these problems. These are issues that we want to address, and they must be solved. We have also to reconcile our people, because in 2013 our communities have been divided into tribes, and even the war of 2013 was fought along tribal lines, and very deep wounds have been inflicted. There is no way we can build this country and maintain its unity without reconciling our people. We need to address these issues and confront them. These are changes that we need to bring in the area of peace and achieving stability. In the area of management of resources, this government has been captured by cartels and elites associated with the leadership in the country. They are looting the state to the point that they loot all the resources, to the point that the government is not able to pay salaries of the civil servants or the army or the police or anybody, causing collapse of the state and creating economic crisis in the country. We need to manage our resources in a transparent way, which is being resisted by the current government now. These are changes that we need to bring. Then we need to bring a constitutional system of governance. What we have now is autocratic dictatorship. That must change. We need to bring rule of law. We must have a constitution that put all the powers and then entrench that power in the hands of the people to elect their government in free, periodic and peaceful elections, so that we can have a system of good governance and a government that can deliver, a government that can serve the people. These changes must come. Otherwise, there will be no peace in the country.
Just from these discussions and the need for this change, looking at also the schedules of election that are for 2026, will you tell South Sudanese that some things will actually materialize within this and aligns with the need for a lasting peace and the election that is expected? What do you people as an opposition have on regard to elections?
First and foremost, elections are being delayed and postponed by the current government, Artigono, because it fails to implement agreements, it fails to implement the reform agenda in the peace agreements. That is why we are insisting that first and foremost we need to ensure that any agreement that we sign, it must be fully implemented. We must have internal grantors, external grantors to ensure that the agreement is fully implemented. Not like RRCs, which they keep extending and postponing the right of our people to elect their government in free and peaceful elections. And if you look into the protocols we have agreed, there's a protocol on permanent constitution making to ensure that we have a permanent constitution that defines the system of governance in our country, and which must be delivered before the end of the transitional period and before the conduct of election, and use that constitution as the basis for holding elections, as the legal basis for holding election, as a system of rule of law, guaranteeing all the freedoms and the basic rights of our people, so that our people are free to organize themselves, to criticize their government, to campaign for the government they want, and to elect their government. And for the political parties to also organize freely, not under the draconian laws like the national security law. This must change. It is unconstitutional. It is against the basic rights of our people. These are necessary things to be done. And then ensure that this agreement, if we are to sign it, then we make sure that it is implemented. The problem is the current government. It lacks seriousness. It has been delaying the process, including the Tomaini, either by reneging from what it has already agreed, or by delaying the process, adopting unreasonable positions, or even delaying for several months, not turning up for the talks, like now. They have been invited and they have not come, and time is being wasted. This is all delay tactics by the government. Why? Because they want to continue legitimately holding on to power. And the elections of 2026, which they have agreed to, will only be postponed by them because they are not doing anything to ensure elections. Since they extended themselves, they have not implemented a single thing of the agreement. 2026 will come, and their committee, the high-level committee, will go and meet the presidency and come and announce, because we did not implement the agreement, we are forced to extend again. That's clear for our people. Our people know who is delaying their right to elect their government. It is this government.
And
it is clear.
it's okay. And although you people are also coming for power, and your coming for power also will look the same.
No, it is totally different. Actually, if we were coming for power, that's what they wanted. You know what they were telling us? Right from the beginning, and even this delegation, when they came, they are approaching each one of us as leaders. Just join us, we will incorporate you into the government. Don't talk about peace, don't talk about stability, don't talk about the economic crisis, don't talk about ending the suffering of the people. They want us to join them in sharing power, and in return we go silent. That is what they want to do. That's what they have been doing. This is what they want to do with us. How many of the leaders whom they have taken through agreements that are not implemented to join them? And they are in Juba. You can go and ask them. They've been given houses, they've been given money, and they've been told to keep silent. And some of them have even been denied not to travel, not to go anywhere, for fear that they may not go back. This is what the government has been doing. So they don't want to solve the problem. They just want to share power, and not solve the problem of the people. Some people are saying, why are you talking about bringing peace, a just peace? You just come and take power.
What have you been over?
We are looking for peace. That is why we are not in Juba today.
Okay.
If it is for power, we will be in Juba, would have been in Juba many years ago. If it is about power.
Okay.
Yeah. And I'm sure our people knows this very clearly.
That's good. And maybe our last question that we will want to also know, and for South Sudan is also to be very clear about it, is actually back to the UPA. Yes, UPA look a political alliance, but we have also seen a position there for the Chief of General Staff.
Yes.
Why would the political wing or a political alliance have a Chief of Defense Forces?
Because we have armies. And we are uniting all those armies under one umbrella.
Yeah, and
unified.
And that's bring me now to internal programs of your parties under this alliance. Does this one now tell us that real SPLMs or the South Sudan United Fronts and Salvation Fronts all will not be on their position, but they will be one party?
We are an alliance.
Okay.
We are an alliance of many parties. We have agreed to work together on the basis of a minimum program that we have agreed to. It is basically how to build a peaceful, just, and a prosperous new South Sudan. That is our vision. And towards this vision, we will struggle together to achieve that fundamental change in our country. We, as an organization, we are aware that our people have been divided along tribal and regional lines, and That is one of the tragedies that we have. And UPA is based on ensuring the unity of the people of South Sudan. This is an alliance to promote and build the unity of the people of South Sudan. We come from all the three regions, we come from all the states of South Sudan. That is why, that's the core objective of UPA.
Okay.
And we are going to use all means possible to achieve this goal. All means.
What are you willing to do? What compromise are you willing to offer as talk resume?
We want to offer a compromise position, which we have already offered, where we call on the government and all the other stakeholders in South Sudan for us first to come in the Tomaini consensus not as enemies, but as brothers and sisters, as South Sudanese, compatriots, to rescue our country. Take our country out of the economic crisis, take our country out of failed government, take our country out of corruption and mismanagement of resources, take our country out of humanitarian disaster and also dependence on humanitarian assistance, to recover our economy and for our people to have a secure countryside so that we can produce our own food, whether it is producing cereals and pulses or producing milk and meat or producing all that we need, not only for our consumption in our economy, but also for export. We must produce a surplus.
Yeah.
And addressing all the crises that South Sudan is facing. And this compromise, we were able together as all the stakeholders, the government and the political parties, all the political parties in the government, the opposition parties, our church leaders, our civil society leaders, our women leaders, our youth leaders who have been here in the Tomaini consensus, in the Tomaini initiative, we have reached a consensus. That is a compromise, a negotiated agreement to take the country out of the current terrible situation we are in. And that's the compromise that we want the government not to jump out from.
Okay. And you also talking about the government in Juba being led by elite, and even the oppositions. You also being accused of being the only elites. How are you ensuring that there is inclusivity, that all South Sudanese views and all of them are involved in making sure that we achieve the South Sudan that we want?
This has been at the core of our discussion in the Tomaini initiative, and this is reflected in the Tomaini consensus. First, on the issue of inclusivity, we have, let us take for example, on the Constitution, we have agreed that we shall have the constitution making process as a people's-led process inside the country, but also outside the country, to make sure that our people in diaspora, in the refugee camps, in the various countries where they have been scattered into, they participate in the making of their constitution. And we propose, and it has been agreed by all the parties, that there shall be a national consultative constitutional conference here in Kenya for our representative of our people from the opposition parties that are not comfortable to be in Juba, to discuss the issues of the constitution in Juba for now, representative of our refugees in the various camps around the country, in the neighboring countries, representative of our diaspora in other countries like United States of America, Canada, Australia, Europe, and other places like the Middle East, for example. That's one way to ensure inclusivity and participation of our people. Plus, the conference is, of course, inside the country that will reflect all the 3 regions and the 10 states. We have discussed that and agreed that the stakeholders, this process should not only be limited to the political parties in the government and in the opposition, but must include representative of our church leaders, of our civil society leaders, of our women leaders, of our youth leaders in all these processes. That is how we ensure inclusivity. Well, my message to your listeners is that we in the opposition are working very hard to bring peace to the country. This is not about power sharing, as the government would want us to be engaged in. This is about ending the suffering of our people. This is about returning South Sudan back to the path of state and nation building. This is about uniting our people. This is about healing the wounds our people are suffering from. I want to call on the people of South Sudan and on your listeners to please rally behind and around Tomaini, particularly the agreed Tomaini 8 protocols, to make sure that the government does not renege from it. I would like all South Sudanese to step up the struggle for a just peace in South Sudan, for an opportunity for all our people to change our lives and build a better South Sudan.